They won it in a way in which they have won all season, and it was in dominant fashion when it mattered. Welcome to the voice of college football and the national championship game. Postgame, Michigan 34, Washington 13. Good football game, far from a classic. Michigan in control much of the way. Washington threatened, had its chances to even the score, get right there, stay within shouting distance with 4 or 5 minutes left to play. But Michigan clearly the better team on this night, clearly the best team in college football for the 2023 season. Again, we appreciate you all being here at the Voice of College Football. We will leave the link in the chat, but we want to start out our conversation tonight and our post-game wrap with John D'Adamo, host of our Michigan Wolverines live show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Congratulations, John.
Thank you, Mark. And I'm going to ask everybody in chat just one question for Wolverine Nation. One question. Who's got it better than us? Oh, wait. They're saying nobody. I love it. I love it. Mark, I will give you some kudos. You did pick Michigan by, I think, 10 points? So
34-24. So I got one score correct.
Not bad. Everybody's saying nobody. I love it. Yeah, I mean, this season, Mark, just the amount of stuff. Like, you have to give the coaching staff, the players, just so much credit for tuning out the noise, whether self-inflicted or not, and making it through a 15-0 season. Only a few teams have done that. And winning the national title, just shattering all narratives of Harbaugh can't win the big game. Harbaugh can't do this. Michigan has a split national title from 97. Well, now Michigan has an undisputed national title in 2023. So very exciting. And Mark, I feel like the big take-home point is, like, it felt like Michigan was in control of this game, although they allowed Washington to hang around quite a while. And all credit to Washington, but their defense, which was supposed to be 94th in the country, it looked like Iowa at times. I mean, it was good. It was like they were able to shut the receivers down. They were able to prevent drives, and some of it was like CJ dropping a ball and maybe a little too much passing late in the first half and things like that. But credit to Washington for a hard-fought game, a great season, and Michigan was just able to get it done in the fourth quarter to put the dagger in it and win by 21 points. So not even a squeak. Like, people thought it would be a squeaker either way. 21 points. Not too shabby.
From the time Michigan scored the first touchdown, which was right out of the gate, took control with a running game. What was impressive to me right out of the gate was the combination of the physicality of the offensive line, the physicality of not one back, just Blake Corum, not two backs, three backs on the first drive. Khalil Mullings got some key carries, dragging guys around the field, and then Donovan Edwards, of course, with the score to get them off and running 7-0. But of course, the physicality of the offensive line and the blocking scheme. So we tend to think of, and we had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, John, you and I, that people credit and attach complicated sophistication on offense to simply passing game, not running game. But the blocking schemes that Sharon Moore puts together is just it's an orchestrated thing of beauty.
Yeah, and Donovan Edwards, who had been having a pretty rough season up to this point, just has some incredible runs early in the game. He heard all the the people saying he had fallen off and he decided to have a game. But in order to get that, the like you said, the O-line had to block and they had to make those things happen. And some of the gaps, Mark, that the O-line was we're not talking like a tiny gap here. I mean, there were points in the game where that O-line was making like a parting of the Red Sea practically, and Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings were barreling through. Credit to Washington for adjusting, because they were able to figure out, and I think kind of clamp down, put more people in the box to try to limit that. Putting it more on JJ. But I will say this, 303 rushing yards for Michigan. That's a great performance. And, if Michigan gets 303, they're probably going to win the game. Mark, you and I talked about a comp to Ohio State 2022. And I think that's right on. Michael Penix had a ton of yards. Yeah, not as many as CJ Stroud got in 2022, but he got 255. He went for 27-51, got a touchdown. On the other side of the ball, JJ McCarthy didn't do a lot, right? 140 yards. He did run. He'd had a couple good runs in there, but this is what I expected. This was limiting Penix and his explosiveness as much as you can, accepting that he's going to get his, but then doing what you can to run the ball. And that's kind of what we had predicted. And that's what happened.
We had not even made it to the second quarter yet, and Washington had already given up its two biggest rushing plays of the season. So they played 14 full football games, 56 quarters, and then boom, Michigan hits him with the two longest rushing plays in one quarter.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. And look, to everybody in chat who has been watching the Michigan show and who's been supporting and has kind of been here on the ride the whole season, I want to thank everybody for if you've stopped by the Michigan show, we really appreciate it. We have a great turnout there, and it means a lot. And I think that every Wolverine Nation, enjoy this win. And I will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern with Dennis Fithian. We're gonna celebrate this thing. I want to see it. I hope everybody can come by and come by the Michigan channel, and we're going to have ourselves a great time. So, Mark, as always, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to even be doing this. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, John. I know how it feels, so just soak it in. There are going to be detractors, distractors, critics, haters, whatever you want to categorize it or term it. So I would encourage everyone out there that's a Michigan fan to take John's advice and his direction there. Soak up this win, enjoy it. Don't think about all the things that we could list, including Harbaugh possibly going to the NFL. Until any of those things happen, just, you're a national champion. Just bask.
Yeah, and we'll probably cover that as a topic tomorrow.
Sure.
But for the next day or so, let's just enjoy it. And we'll talk all about Harbaugh and the NFL and Raiders and kind of my prediction of what's going to happen. We'll do that tomorrow. I'll ask Dennis what he thinks. But first natty since '97. It's a big deal. And what's most important, Mark, is I think Michigan secured national respect, at least from the perspective of, there's always this ceiling, right, with Michigan, 10 wins, can't beat Ohio State, kind of in that threshold. 2021 hits, then they start hitting these milestones. JJ McCarthy came to Michigan and he said, I'm going to do everything I can to beat Ohio State, to win the Big Ten, and to win the national championship. And he has delivered on every promise that he said when he came to this university. And so Couldn't be more thrilled.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much. And everyone, some of you who are watching on the Michigan channel, keep it right here tomorrow night, Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time with John. But folks, some of you don't, maybe not aware that we've got a Michigan channel, a Michigan show with John each and every Tuesday. So this would be the time to start watching it tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time over on the Michigan channel. John, thank you so much. Enjoy the night.
Thank you, Mark, and go blue, everybody.
All right, folks, we got calls lined up. I've just dropped the link in the chat. I apologize. I did not drop it in the description section, but it looks like most of you have found it because we've got about 10 calls lined up already. Michigan is the 2023 national champion. Before I take the next call, I think John made a key point here. There's been, for good reason, a thought by many that there are a select few who can win a national championship. And you would think Michigan would be part of that group. But based on results and based on the way things have happened in the postseason and pre-Harbaugh leading through just the season itself, the regular season, Michigan did not appear to be part of that club and was not part of that club. There's a very select few. Well, Michigan historically is as good as anyone. And now they have brought and they have merged the past with the present, the historic with the current. And again, we will take your comments and calls. We got Joey Foster here. Maybe Joey, I think, is possibly getting his blues and golds mixed up. And he thinks maybe West Virginia won the national championship tonight.
Oh no, I wish they would though, you know. But congratulations to Michigan. Nice win. Great game. Thought Washington was going to come back there for a while, but I'm not going to hold up all the Michigan fans you've got in the back room. I see quite a few of them, including the Texas fan back there too. But I did want to just say that I did put a shirt in the store for the national championship for Michigan and coffee cup. So so just thought I'd let you guys know that. If you want to bring that up, the coffee cup comes in two colors, gold and blue. You know, so. But anyway, Mark, you have your links to give away later. Just want to remind you for your college football giveaway.
Thank you for that, Joey, because you are right. I know what you're thinking. Mark was going to forget that, and you were right. Mark was going to forget that.
Yeah. But you have your 2024 national champion Michigan Wolverines coffee cup and T-shirt in the storefront. If a mod will post that storefront. All right, Mark, I'm gonna get out of here and let you get to these Michigan fans. And once again, congratulations to the Michigan fans. Way to go, Michigan. You know, here's what I hope for you. I hope the NCAA don't come back and make you vacate victories. We won't talk about that, but I just hope it doesn't happen. All right.
Well, thank you, Joey. Appreciate it.
Good night, guys.
All right, folks, I'm leaving the link in the chat right now. Get your championship gear or any Voice of College Football gear, of course. We are highlighting Michigan tonight, of course. And there's the link in the chat. Let's go to our next call. And apropos, it's Michigan Man.
Hey, man, I'm speechless, man.
Congratulations.
Hey, man, I'm about to say some things, man, that might irk some people, but you know what? To the victor go the spoils.
Sure.
That's the greatest defense I've ever seen in my life. They haven't given up 30 points all year, not to a single team. Even the 2021 Georgia team gave up 40 once. All week, what we hear? How we going to slow this team down? No one can stop this passing attack. Penix is on fire. I couldn't tell watching the game. Look, man, through all the adversity, whether it's, self-credit or not, through all the adversity, coach missing 6 games, 15-0. Ohio State never been 15-0. We, the Michigan Wolverines, and our fan base and the team, that's the greatest national champion of all time. Any thoughts, man? Any thoughts? I know I just went on my soapbox, but
Well, I can't disagree. I can't completely disagree with any of that. Do I think it's the best defense of all time? I would like to gain a little bit more perspective on that. It wasn't anything that I've really been thinking about this season. Like, okay, this is the greatest defense I've ever seen. Therefore, maybe if that turns out to be the case, and we say that, then maybe Kyle McCord should be thinking much better of himself right now. But now 15-0. Yes, Ohio State's never gone 15-0. 14-0. They haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to go 15-0. That's only been a thing for 10 seasons. But and then the greatest team of all time. Did you say the greatest team of all time?
the greatest national champion of all time. When you take into account they missed their head coach for 6 games, whether it's self-created adversity or not, the mental aspect that they had to deal with, what they had to go through to get to this point. They are 15-0. Only LSU and Clemson, I think, are the only two 15-0 teams.
And
They didn't
Georgia.
have to, and Georgia. They didn't have to deal with what Michigan had to deal with this season, and I think that has to be taken into account when you consider what they accomplished this year.
Yeah, well, that LSU team played probably the most difficult schedule of any national championship team. So I would tend to sway in that direction. The Bama team went 13-0 in 2020. Of course, that was a COVID year, so they missed 2 games. But I am not going to rate Michigan as the greatest team of all time, but I don't have any issue. I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to claim. I don't think it's in any such way.
Yeah, I can't see a lot of teams, even those teams, man. I would have a hard time, as great as they were, if Nick Saban got suspended in the last 3 games of the year and they had to go against at Penn State and Ohio State, 2 heavyweights without their head coach, one of which they didn't know he wasn't going to be the head coach till pretty much game day, pretty much. I don't know if they could have pulled that off. I'm being honest. I don't know. I really don't. That's
it's
tough,
a great
man.
point.
The 30 for 30 on this is going to be insane. They should just skip the 30 for 30, actually. It's going to the theaters, man. This is a movie. This is blockbuster. You can't write a better script than this. You know? That's pretty. I'll let you go, man. But I will say, when you look at the numbers, that's the greatest defense of all time. I think they only gave up 10 points per game all year, on average. So, I'll end it with that, man. All right.
I hear you. Congratulations.
One more thing.
Yeah,
Darrell,
sure.
where you at, man? Darrell, I thought we had 1% chance. Darrell, where you at, my guy?
Well, he called before the game, and he predicted a Michigan win.
Yeah, at some point you gotta just admit defeat. But anyway, he still said 1%, man. And guess what? 1% to 100%, we here.
Sometimes it comes through. Yeah,
no doubt.
Michigan man, appreciate it, man. Enjoy. So the real MVP wasn't necessarily wrong. He said they had a 1% chance, and I guess the 1% came through. There you go. Before we take some calls, let's get to this. Tim, thank you so much for that. Tim Prangley, of course, helps us host a number of shows there on the USC channel. Join us on Tuesday night. We're usually a Monday night show with Trojan Conquest Live. So this week, of course, with the national championship game coming your way on Tuesday at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, Trojan Conquest Live. Thank you so much for that, Tim. Oh, I could start down a story right now of what I was battling watching this game, especially those couple instances where it looked like Michigan was going to distance itself. I was thinking, man, if this is like 34-10 in the second half and gets to be a bit of a snoozer, which it really never got to that point until really, really late. I got to say that, there's a particular birthday celebration that's going on today. It's January 8th, so that's stuck in my head every January 8th. That's a much more important date for another reason than a college football national championship game that boy, it tempted me to drift to a few other live streams out there that were going on, not involving college football. But I am responsible to all of you. I watched every play, took note of every play. I had to be locked in, even though, yes, I will probably enjoy after this live stream some other interests, let's say. But this is a cue to it right there. Elvis Nation, thank you so much for the contribution. Appreciate you, Brent. Congratulations. You are a Michigan fan, so we know that you are enjoying this, a great Michigan season, but also great analysis of this season. Thanks, Mark. And again, thank you, Brent. And if you like Elvis Presley, and believe me, you should. Anyway, good Elvis Nation. Great YouTube channel. All right, let's keep it rolling. Before we take the next call, we got Barry here. No team scored more than 23 points on Michigan. Well, technically, Ohio State 24. Okay, heard all week that no one could stop Penix. Okay, Barry, you're not listening here. Must not be dropping by here. Well, they had 13 points. Michigan put up over 500 yards of total offense. Yeah, if we look at the final score, it was a blowout. The game wasn't a blowout. I think if you can appreciate the Michigan defense, you can appreciate the Michigan win and the dominance at times. I do not consider this a dominant win. I consider it a game control win. I consider it domination at times. Domination the first 3 or 4 drives of the game. Domination at the very end. Again, I'm going to do an instant analysis on this game at some point, whether that's late tonight or sometime in the morning, and I've got some thoughts. Of course, there were some moments where Washington was this close to playing themselves right back in it, and I mean like right back in it, like tie game, but Michigan, to its credit, never let that happen. And then we've got Matthew. Matthew, thank you so much for the contribution. It doesn't even feel real. Go blue. I hope Jim comes back, but if not, what a job to bring Michigan back from the brink of irrelevance. Matthew, thank you so much for that, and well worded. And we've got, I don't know if I can pronounce that, Jurislav from what is that? Is that a chicken? Is that the whole Michigan Harbaugh chicken talk? Like he hated chickens. They're scared chickens. They're scared animals. Now he loves chickens. He's got chickens. All Michigan fans loving their chickens now, I guess. Little fist pump there from Jarislav. Thank you so much for the contribution. And then we've got Around the Fur. Great season, good times. Thank you so much for the contribution. Michigan fans, again, congratulations. You are the 2023 national champions. Matthew Miller's here. I'm sure he's got some thoughts after watching Michigan dispose of Washington.
I do. First off, congratulations to Michigan. Texas and Michigan kind of in this similar boat. I know theirs in 1997 wasn't undisputed, but still, it's been a while since we both won a national championship, so congrats to that. First thought watching this game, Michigan played great, not taking anything away from them. They played better than Texas on the defensive side of the ball. But Michael Penix missed a lot of open throws tonight. A lot of open throws. The one that bothered me, honestly, the most was the Roma Dunze running wide open on a drag route where if he catches and breaks his tackle, it's a touchdown. I was screaming as soon as I saw him cross the field. I was like, the cornerback got lost. The cornerback, I'll just let him catch the ball. And then the last one, too, he throws in a triple coverage when he's got Roma Dunze wide open between the safety and the cornerback. He did it time after time. And I think we honestly might have saw his best performance of the season and then his worst performance of the season in back-to-back games. I think there's other games that you could dispute with this one for worst. I think the Texas game was by far his best. The stat they showed tonight, he was like 5 of 5, and I knew this stat, 5 of 5 on 20 yards downfield, and then like 10 of 10 on, that was 5 of 5 on contested passes, and then 10 of 10 on 20-yard passes downfield. That's as perfect as you can be, and he was the total opposite tonight.
Yeah, on the Michigan side, they're going to tell you that the pressure had something to do with that or had a lot to do with it. I would go with it had something to do with it. There was more Michigan pressure than Texas pressure. However, when he did have the open looks, when there was no pressure, he just wasn't on his game.
I mean, a perfect example, Roma Dunze, blown coverage, wide open. Mm-hmm. He's going a seam route, and he throws it to the sideline.
Yeah, the only thing I could say there, Matthew, is I wonder if there was a miscommunication there because, yes, if he's just throwing the football where Odunze is running, yeah, he's running up the seam, but the safety was in the middle of the field. I wonder if Penix was thinking, you see where you are, you see where the safety is, you're wide open, you need to be going toward the sideline now. I am throwing you the ball, it's going to be out here because I don't want to lead you toward the safety.
Yeah, it could have been, but also he didn't put enough air under it, if that's what he's trying to
No.
do. It was
True.
basically the
True.
same
True.
pass as a seam pass. If he wants to do that, throw more air underneath of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was totally off tonight. And I mean, if he's going to be that off, they have no shot. You and I talked about it after the Texas game. If he repeats that performance, they can beat Michigan. He didn't come anywhere near to repeating that performance. And again, Michigan definitely, like, edge-wise, that's where they're better in Texas by a lot. We don't have any of the edge pass rushers that Michigan does. And you saw that. He kept getting hit, kept getting taken down. It took his toll at the end because he was obviously hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just frustrating to watch that because, I mean, you see the dimes he was dropping it versus Texas, and then tonight it really does hurt because I've been saying Washington was the worst matchup for us. I wish we would have got Michigan. I'm not saying we beat Michigan. I think it's a good game. But it doesn't matter. Michigan won national championship. We do get them week 2. That's going to be interesting. And then another thing, Mark, I don't really care. I've been on this train for a while. JJ McCarthy, he's got to come back. That guy is not a first-round quarterback. He's not. You know who he is, and I'm going to make this comparison. Maybe you'll agree with that. I don't know how much NFL you watch, but Justin Fields in the NFL, that's exactly who JJ McCarthy is. He's just a little bit less athletic version of Justin Fields. That's all he is.
Yeah, that's a great, well, obviously, I've seen a lot of Justin Fields in college. Can't say that I've seen him more than just a couple plays here and there at the NFL level. Didn't he run for 1,000 yards last year?
Yeah, that's what again, great athlete. I think JJ McCarthy, you put him in the offense, could do something similar, 750 to 850 yards. But they consistently, what they do is they'll make throws. You'll be like, wow, that's a hell of a throw. Case in point, pass to Colson Loveland on the sideline. That rocket that should have been caught.
Sure.
Beautiful throw. The next play, he misses a wide open guy.
Yeah.
That's exactly who he is, because I've seen that with Justin Fields. Justin Fields will make throws. You'll be like, holy hell. Next throw, terrible. And if you're drafting that in the first round, that's ridiculous. You're basically taking a chance that you'll make him more consistent. And all I ever hear from people is they point to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is 1 in a million. That does not happen. If you look at most of the guys you draft on potential, they turn into Zach Wilson. That's who they are.
Yeah, or Trey Lance. What's he doing these days? He's just
backup for the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's interesting. I do think that Justin Fields is probably a little bit more athletic and faster than JJ McCarthy. Arm strength, it might be extremely close, or if there's an edge, I'd go Justin Fields. So I think you got a good read on that. And for people that are watching us, and this is a lot of people because I hear it all the time, they don't watch the NFL. I don't think they realize the difference in the two games and the difference, what's expected of a quarterback and the type of throws that you have to make. You can't be
late at all.
No, you can't be late. You can't be staring anything down. You don't have the open receivers that you have in college. You have to be razor sharp.
Yeah, and that's the thing. McCarthy's not. He's not. Is there potential for him to be I'm not going to say great. Can he be a really good quarterback? Possibly, but he needs to come back here because, to me, also, he doesn't have enough on his shoulders. Like, NFL teams are definitely going to question that. See, I'm not saying he's trash. This is the thing that I'm going to hear. Kellen Moore has the most wins, or had the most wins at one point in college football history. Is he the best quarterback to ever play college football? No one thinks that. The best quarterback I've ever seen through 1 year is probably Cam Newton or Joe Burrow. No one can ever put JJ McCarthy in that because he's not. I don't care what his record is. Is he a good college quarterback? No doubt. Is he a great game manager in person and great for what they want to run? Yes. I'm arguing, and this is a totally separate argument from this, that I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback because none of the stuff translates. None of it. What he did tonight versus Washington on those 2 runs, he would have got blown up on one or both of them in the NFL. That's what happens. And the thing is, people don't realize, then they'll point to Lamar Jackson. Guess what? Lamar Jackson can throw the football. I know people hate to hear that. He's been able to throw the football for a long time. So don't ever compare that. He is and I think it's a good comp, and I'm going to keep going with it, is Justin Fields. And Justin Fields is inconsistent, and he has greatness in him at some points, but it's not consistent enough. And that's what it takes to be an NFL quarterback.
I hear you. And unfortunately for the Big Ten and the rest of college football, if he makes the same assessment and gets the same draft grade sent back to him, then he's coming back to college and going to play for Michigan.
The problem is I don't think he's going to, because every mock I see is a top 20 pick, and I really don't understand that. I'm a Broncos fan. I've seen him mocked us. If he gets mocked us, I already don't like Sean Payton. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in the history of football. He was covered up by Drew Brees. I know this isn't a pro show, so I won't harp on that, but I don't want JJ McCarthy. I think it'd be a massive failure. And there's one guy above everyone else. It's Caleb Williams. I know people argue that, but he has actually shown intangible stuff that will work in the pros. JJ McCarthy hasn't. That's my opinion on that. We'll move on to this real quick, because people are already in on the top 10, top 25 for next year.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the top 10 for next year. Way too early, top 25 on 3. Georgia number 1. I don't think that's any surprise. Maybe a little bit of surprise here. Texas number 2. Alabama number 3, Oregon number 4, Ohio State number 5, Michigan number 6, Ole Miss number 7, Notre Dame number 8, Penn State number 9, Missouri number 10. What do you think of those early rankings?
Well, the first thing that hits me is that the entire top 10 is in the SEC and the Big Ten.
Other Notre Dame, yeah.
Yes. So no other conference is represented in the top 10. I don't really have much of an issue with that top 10. I just think that there are so many moving parts in college football now compared to what we had a few years ago that it's less relevant to determine a way too early top 10 or top 25, although I'll do the same thing just because people want to see it. I'll do one here in the next week or so. But yeah, that seems pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I know Michigan fans might argue they just won the national championship. If they do have some certain guys come back, I think they could be honestly ranked as a top 1 or 2 team in the country next year.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, though, is now I'm not going to sit here and forecast right now who these teams are going to be, but they basically took the current top 10 and just mixed it up a little bit. That's almost exclusively what this season's top 10 is, almost to a T.
Yeah.
And history tells us that that doesn't happen.
No, and I'm looking at the top 25. Honestly, I guess you can make an argument for, I think Arizona, if they keep everyone together, like I know that second portal's coming. And let me tell you guys, this is going to happen because of NIL. Teams are going to get in contact with Fafita and those wide receivers and be like, you want some money to come here? And if they don't jump in the portal, I honestly think Arizona, they could be a top 10 team next year. I mean, that wouldn't shock me. They're the second highest ranked Big 12 team in these rankings. Utah comes in at 11. But I mean, I think Ole Miss, if Lane Kiffin doesn't get it done, like get them in the playoffs next year, that's going to be an issue because they brought in way too much talent and they're coming back with a lot too. It would shock me if they don't make the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, and we also have to understand that Arizona's workload of a schedule goes down considerably without the Pac-12, without whoever they have to face in the north, and then USC, UCLA, Utah, etc. Well, they get Utah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the schedule is going to be. They most likely will have Utah in the Big 12, but a much, I don't want to say extremely easy or easier, but I don't think there's any question it's a lighter load going to the Big 12. And real quick, back to JJ McCarthy in the NFL. When you say you can't believe that he's mocked for the first round, I think you know as well as I do that teams are desperate for quarterbacks, so they overreach, and most of them, more than 50% of them are considered misses. They miss. So just because he goes in the first round doesn't mean he's going to be an NFL starter or successful.
No, and I agree with that. And I don't know why NFL teams, they do this every year, and you have stuff to go off of. Like when you go in and evaluate This is why the Ravens are constantly good. They never overpick for someone. They always take the best player available, no matter the position. That's why they've been so good consistently, where you see these teams year in and year out. They overdraft because they need a quarterback, and it doesn't work out a lot of the times. And I don't understand that philosophy. I've never understood that philosophy. To me, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm always going to take the best player on the board and live with it. The Broncos did that a couple years ago. Fans were begging them to take Justin Fields, begging them. But Patrick Surtain, who was arguably the best player in that draft, was there at 8, and they went with him. And guess what? Patrick Surtain's one of the 2 best cornerbacks in the NFL now, and Justin Fields may not get a 3rd contract in the NFL. I think the next deal he gets will be his last one.
Wonder how many teams out of the 14 that made the playoff have first-round quarterbacks. I'm not going to go through it right now, but I just think that teams and general managers are enamored with trying to find the next Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers type.
No, I agree. But then we've also seen, if you're going to do that, bench him for a year or two, because we've seen what the Packers have done. It's worked for them the last 2 QBs. Jordan Love looks pretty damn good after sitting behind Rodgers. So I won't turn this into an NFL show. I know I'm going to get destroyed in the comments by Michigan fans for, going against their golden child, but I like him as a person. I think he's a good college quarterback. Just don't like him for the NFL. And also, if you hate me, come Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, Bleeding Burn Orange. Let your opinion be known. We'll jump into Texas stuff. There's a lot of really good transfers out there that are visiting Texas. CJ Daniels, wide receiver from Liberty, really good player. I want Silas Bolden from Oregon State. I think he's fantastic for Texas if we can get him. And then Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle from Houston, probably the 2nd best defensive tackle that's entered the portal. Really good chance he ends up with Texas too. So we're going to be talking all that stuff. We'll probably talk a little bit about the national championship just because I think that's right. I think you should do that every year. But obviously 95% Texas all day, every day. So I hope you guys can show up for that.
All right, Matthew. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Again, it's a big Texas Wednesday here at the Voice of College Football with Matthew. Bleeding Burnt Orange, 7:30 Eastern. All right, let's keep it moving, and keep in mind, Michigan fans, you got 2 options there for national championship celebratory gear. We'll say you got a shirt you see front and center, and then you also have the mug right there, 2024 national champion Michigan Wolverines. Okay. Let's go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Mark, definitely want to give congratulations to Michigan fans, and also a congratulations to your channel, Mark, for 44,000 subs. You finally reached 44K. We got to keep moving that up. 100,000, million, whatever it takes. This channel is a great community. I have enjoyed being, calling in on here for the last couple of years, watching. I think I've watched now for 4 years, but even before I called in for a couple of years. It's a great community, and I know everybody, loves being a part of it. It's awesome. You do a great job, Mark. Just wanted to say that to start out for sure.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your support. You're always here and pumped up and fired up, and love talking college football with you.
I appreciate that, Mark. Really do. And definitely the national title game. Washington and Michigan. I mean, the thing is, I will say that Dylan Johnson being injured, basically throughout the entire game, he didn't have the burst. And then when Penix got rolled up on, later on in the game by his own offensive lineman, that did impact Washington. Because I've seen a lot of people online, on Twitter, talking about how bad Washington was. They didn't, they weren't that good, and Michigan destroyed. That's just not the case. And having 2 of your best players, especially, again, when Penix went down later on in the game, and with Dylan Johnson not being effective, able to run the ball that well, and I know that even if he was healthy, Michigan's run defense is great. And they would have not really allowed him to get too much going. But it made it where Washington couldn't run the football as well. And then Michigan just started to blitz because they knew that Penix was going to be passing again and again and again. I just think that this game would have been a lot closer if those injuries weren't there for Washington.
Yeah, from a competitive standpoint, I wish a couple things would have happened. One would have been when Penix hit the throw, I believe it was a Dunze,
Mhm.
inside the 10 or 15 yard line when they were only down by a touchdown. They could have I got to go through my notes. I don't remember if they were down by 2 touchdowns at that point or down by 1 touchdown, but they had a couple opportunities to tie the game.
Mhm.
One of them, that they had a penalty called back, and I think that was the play when the right tackle held.
Mhm.
Don't know that. Hey, if the officials determine it holding, I don't expect it to go through their minds or them to try to figure out whether it would have affected the play or not. It's holding, call the hold, but Penix hits the long play that puts them in a place where they can score a touchdown, tie the game. Then the other drive, and this is while Washington, to its credit, got to credit Washington here because they got completely just mauled in the first quarter in the run game, and then they really adjusted to that. They just toughened up. They obviously had better run fits after that and stopped the Michigan ground attack for the most part. But they had the backup running back Dixon leaked out of the backfield for a 3rd and 4, and they flipped it out to him. They're at midfield. They're down a touchdown. It's 20-13. There's about 11 or 12 minutes left in the game. Just drops the ball. Just drops the ball.
Yeah, Washington basically dropped the ball in the game, figuratively speaking, with the mistakes they made. And this is where, because I saw, again, a lot of people, and I don't blame Michigan fans for being as excited as they are. They deserve every right to be as excited for the season they had. They haven't won a title since 97. No one thought they could do it, basically, before, they got to the CFP this year. A lot of people still doubt them against Bama, but no one thought at the end of the year that they could do it. So, I mean, I understand that they're so pumped, and even going as far as say we blew them out. We were by far the best team in college football. For one, Michigan was by far clearly not like the best team in college football. There's an argument that they were the best team in college football, but they weren't dominantly the best. There's no way in the world that anybody can definitively say that Michigan was by far the best team in college football over Georgia or over any other team. And this game even proves that. Because Washington, if they hit the pass to Adunze, that wasn't good defense. People are saying this is the best defense ever in the history of college football. There was no one on Adunze for 20 yards. It was just a missed pass or maybe miscommunication on the route.
Yeah,
that was not good
you bring
defense.
that up and phrase it that way, Jeffrey, and I'll let you continue here in a second because there's a difference between making plays and there's a difference between unforced errors by your opponent. That's not taking anything away from Michigan. That's
100%.
just calling the analysis for what it is. It's not like Michigan had a safety that came over and broke up the pass. No, Penix missed the throw, and Rutgers or Kansas or San Jose State could have been out there, and Penix just missed the throw. So some of those, and this happens in football, it happens in every sport. Some of that has nothing to do with Michigan in this case. Nothing.
100%. Same thing on the 4th and 4, like you said, it was just a drop pass. And I know everybody in chat, they're saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. They said Michigan's the best. I know that. That's why I'm saying it, because
you know what you're talking about.
I mean, you're saying it as a fan, and I don't blame you. I would not come on here as an Alabama fan if Alabama won the title this year and say, we were the best. We were number one. We were definitively – no, I wouldn't do that because it's not true. And Michigan has a better argument to be the best team. Like I said, they have an argument, but they weren't clearly number one. They weren't clearly the best by a million miles like some people are saying. If they are the best, it's going to be by like that much. Even some people want to argue Georgia. But, yeah, Washington made mistakes. And the thing is like, I don't know. I mean, probably didn't see it, but I tweeted earlier that there were several misholdings calls. I don't know if you saw on especially the Colston Loveland pass. That was a hold. And that hold was worse than Washington's hold. And, like, anybody that looks at that and just denies it is insane. I know, like you said, Mark, earlier, the Washington hold on the Rome Odunze pass, it could have been called a hold, and it was, and I understand that. But there were more blatant holds in the game by both teams, by Washington and Michigan. And the Michigan ones, it seemed more frequent, and they were really obvious. I mean, on the replay, I can't believe Kirk Herbstreit, or none of the commentators in that game, no one said anything when they showed that pass. Great pass from McCarthy to Loveland, and I'm like, you don't see that grab of the jersey? It is so blatant. It is so obvious in front of the screen. Everybody can see it. If I was a Michigan fan, I would be saying the same thing to you right now, Mark. I'm like, I don't understand why they didn't call that right after you just called a weaker hold on Washington that negated their best pass play of the game. Like, it's insane. I mean, again, it's not to say take anything away from Michigan, but these stack up. missed pass to Adunze, missed 4th and 4 by Washington. That's their fault. But then some holes. Like, if you take all that into account, this could have been a game that went down to the final play. It could have been a one-score game. Could have been Michigan winning by 3 instead of 20. And
So
then
we're-
that
we're-
makes it where they're not as dominant looking.
Yeah, we're getting the typical excuse comments in the chat.
Mhm.
This is
I
not
already
a
know.
Washington fan. This is not like he doesn't care that Michigan won.
I'm happy they won. It's just
yes,
it's
he
just
doesn't
analysis.
care. This is just obvious. Like, if people in the chat
You
can't
can't even
take,
point out obvious things anymore.
can't take honest, truthful, factual analysis, then again, I appreciate them being here, but let's be better football fans and let's be a little bit more knowledgeable than that and not be idiots about this. So hopefully, yes, hopefully we can be, because you know what? If Michigan is that much better than all of college football, then I feel better as an Ohio State fan because Ohio State was that close to them.
Same with Bama. This close. You know, the goal
That
line,
close.
Milroe fumble. I mean, we could talk about that. I had people saying I was nuts for saying Bama could have won the game. A fumble and a 4th and goal. Like, that close. But Michigan's definitively the best. It's absolutely insane. I love it.
Thank you, Brent. Brent is, so our Elvis Nation guy here, Brent, is a Michigan fan. And I, in no such way, I have been lauding Michigan for weeks and weeks and weeks about all their great accomplishments and all the good things that they've done this year and how dominant they've been at times and so
fantastic.
forth. But again, they had a remarkable season. They won this game fair and square. No question about it. They were the better team on the field. However,
100%.
we are just pointing out, otherwise we don't do shows like this. We just shut down and say it was 34-13. Good night, everyone. Like,
I mean, it would
what
be
are
a
we
lot
doing
easier on
here?
you. It'd be a lot easier on you, Mark. You just come on and say Michigan won. Congratulations.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, there's
Then-
no
then you-
point in even talking about the game.
Exactly. So,
But I mean, that's my thing. I don't understand why like I said, I already said it, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not, just incoherent. I know what I was getting into when I called into you tonight, Mark. Like, I knew it. It was going to be all Michigan fans. And I said anything possibly that Michigan isn't this happened in the game, whatever. I knew it was going to happen. I came on, though, because I watched the entire game like you did. And I saw Michigan vulnerable at times in the game. I saw Washington this close to breaking through at several points in the game. It did not occur, and that's why the result is what happened. Michigan deserved to win. You're absolutely right. And again, I've congratulated you, all of you. 1997, first time that Michigan's won. I hadn't even been alive since Michigan's won a title. So that's great. I am happy for Michigan. But still, like, I don't get the whole the most dominant defense ever, and we were clearly the best team this year by far. I mean, Michigan beat Maryland 24-27 at one point this year. I know without Harbaugh, but like Alabama barely beat Auburn. Georgia barely beat Auburn. Oregon struggled with all teams out there. And see, that's not true either. This game was never close. That's not
this
true.
game was never close. That's why I posted
Well,
that.
how is that true?
that's
It's
a
not true at
completely
all.
ridiculous- Maybe this person thought they were watching like a baseball game or a hockey game. So when it was down by 7, that they thought it wasn't close. What? That's
I mean, even
insane.
the Indiana-Michigan game was close at first. I mean, Indiana was lead 7-0. Come on.
Let's be
right?
smarter, people. I brag
what I don't
about my
understand.
audiences to the people that I talk to all the time, my friends and so forth. I brag about my audiences all the time. We got the smartest college football fans. We have the best fans. We have the best viewers and callers. So let's live up to the rep.
It's amazing. It's awesome. And again, I love it. I love the community. But sometimes fans are fans. I don't blame it. I mean, I've probably said delusional things, especially when I was younger, about Alabama before. I'm sure I have. I mean, everybody does it. We all do it. But I mean, I know that as a lot of these fans saying some of the stuff they say, I know they know that some of the stuff they say isn't true completely. They just say it because it's their favorite team. And I don't blame them for feeling that way. That's okay. But yeah, like you said, Mark, I mean, I just definitely wanted to come on, talk about the game, have analysis both ways. Because I know most people are just going to be like, Michigan. And, you're going to be probably like, This is true. This isn't true, but I'm going to hold my breath. I'm going to hold my tongue. Like, I can just tell, even with the first caller, you're just holding your tongue a little bit. It's like, I'm not going to try to disagree, but
Well, tonight's not the night, I guess.
They deserve it. They deserve it. It was a great game. I enjoyed it. I mean, I was, root for Penix too, because obviously being from Indiana was a great story. But like I said, I was happy for Michigan fans as well. I know a lot of Michigan fans, John, a lot of the guys on the channel, just that come on here, like fantastic Michigan fans, and they deserve to win. The game was, well played for the most part, and they are a really, really good team. So I'm happy for them. But thanks for taking my call, Mark. I'm sure there's tons of people behind me, but I just that was awesome. That was, me and you back and forth talking about the fans, the different types of fans on the channel. They're all great, but man, it's funny. So like I said, thanks for taking my call, Mark. Congrats on 44,000 subs, and congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines for winning their first national title since 1997. It wasn't an all-time performance beatdown or anything like that. It wasn't Georgia over TCU. That was dominance, best team ever, all that kind of jazz, even though there's still debates there, but still a very impressive win. And everybody like and subscribe to the Voice of College Football.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Yeah, I'm not going to go into my little spiel about biased fans. That's fine. This is not the night for that. It's the cause for celebration. It is the night for celebration. Does the best team always win the championship? No. But I can't discount in any way saying that Michigan's not the best team. I don't know that they're the best team. Like if somebody had my head in a guillotine and said, we're going to determine from God on high who the best team in college football was it Michigan? I think it was. Would have loved to seen them play Georgia, but Michigan went through the grinder of Ohio State, Penn State, and a few other decent teams in the Big Ten, Iowa and Maryland. We'll throw them in the decent category. And then, of course, they went through this Bama, Washington gauntlet. And that was what was in front of them. And Georgia didn't do. And I got to think that if we took a poll that either Michigan or Georgia would be determined by most people to be the best team in the country. And maybe even Georgia might win that poll, but Georgia didn't do what was asked of them and did not win the key game that they needed to win to get to the playoffs. So they were left out, and rightfully so. Although we've got Adam coming up here on a call, and he's going to let us know. And I part of me agrees with Adam's philosophy on selecting playoff teams. And Georgia would have been there. All right. We got Mike here. Mike, congratulations.
Thank you. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine.
Yes.
I'm just relishing this, Mark. Well, first of all, I mean, can you help me out? Were we going up against Michael Penix Jr. or were we going up against Warren Moon at the height of his career? Because I'm wondering what Washington quarterback we're playing. We're a guy that can go up against the best defense in the nation. And I'm sorry, I don't think this is a discussion. And he's going to automatically hit every long pass downfield with receivers in stride like he's just the god of football. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, people are saying, oh, wow, he missed a couple overthrows. Guess what? Quarterbacks do it. Even great quarterbacks don't hit every guy down the field. They're not 100% going down the field. So, I mean,
he wasn't as sharp as he was against Texas.
Texas's secondary is one of the worst in college football.
No, I'm saying he wasn't as sharp. I'm taking the secondary play out of it. Just he was not hitting guys that were there. He had open receivers.
Yes.
And to your point, yes, every quarterback, even in the NFL, misses open receivers from time to time. But I counted 4 on the first drive. They kicked a field goal, and I had 3 marked down. That's a missed throw. That's a missed throw. That's a miss. I thought he's missed 3 throws already. It's the first drive.
Yeah, I mean, that does happen. I mean, you got to.
Well, not to that degree. He played better against Texas. That's not Michigan's responsibility.
Well, and he was going to play better against Texas. Texas is,
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that Texas's defense wasn't as good as Michigan. We know that. I'm talking about when the throws were there. He made more throws, better throws against Texas than he did against Michigan. He just did.
Yes. He did, but
But
I
that's
mean,
part of football. He didn't
Yeah.
show up tonight to the degree that he showed up against Texas.
yeah. I mean, and the team on the other side of the line of scrimmage has something to do with that.
And I'm even taking that out. I'm not talking about when he was planted on his rear end or when he had a hand in his face or any of that. I'm talking about when he had clear, open throws with no pressure.
Okay, and like I say, he also went up against a better secondary today. I mean,
I'm talking about when he had clear, open throws with no pressure and the guy was open. He missed more of those throws tonight by far. Now, to your point, Mike, Michigan's defense is a lot better than Texas. So there were far more throws that he had pressure. He's getting, hit while he's throwing. He's got a hand in his face. He's just the pocket's collapsing on him. He's getting a push right in his face. He's got better coverage now. All those things are true about Michigan's defense. I don't know how many passes he threw tonight. Let's say he threw 40 passes. Let's say there were 10 out of the 40 that he just had a clear throw, receivers open, he's got a clean pocket, and let's say he missed 2 against Texas and he missed 6 against Michigan. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe the other 30 out of the 40 throws, Michigan had better coverage, more pressure. I'm talking about the throws in which they were there.
Yeah, but there's also two things. One, there's the panic factor. It looked like Penix was getting a little bit more panic than he was against the Texas game. And second, Michigan was pretty much tenderizing Penix. They were getting to him. Now, there weren't as many sacks. I think they only sacked him, once? But they were getting to him. They were laying licks on him. I mean, if you saw, Penix was grimacing. He was holding his side. That factors into it. I mean, if you're sore and hurting and, you're just getting beat up every play, you're not going to exactly play your top game.
Yeah, well, as Mark is making a comment here, I'm not going to go to that degree because I don't read minds like Mark does. Michigan was in Penix's head. That was obvious. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were in his head. But to your point, you get, okay, if I'm playing a team and I've dropped back to pass 10 times and the pocket's clean, I got open receivers, I'm just having a good old time out there. Then the next week, the first 10 throws, I get nailed 7 times. Yes, on the next throws that are open, I'm much less apt to feel good, to step up in the pocket, to not be thinking and have a clock going off in my head thinking it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and all those things. Absolutely.
It just felt like against Texas, he was basically playing 7-on-7. I mean, that's where I think the difference is coming from. And the other thing I wanted to address was a lot of our receivers dropped a lot of very catchable JJ balls tonight. So this whole thing that, JJ is not a first rounder, I think he's cemented himself as a clear first rounder. Now,
Who said he's not a first rounder?
Didn't Matthew say that?
No, he said he's going to be drafted in the first round.
He said he made it sound like he wasn't first round draft material.
Yeah. I don't want to speak for Matthew, but he said that he's going to be drafted in the first round, but he wouldn't draft him in the first round.
I mean, after today, would you say Penix is a first rounder? Because I sure wouldn't.
Really?
No, not after tonight. I mean,
after watching one game.
Washington played no defenses at all this year. The Pac-12 was bereft of defense. The two best defenses was UCLA, which I do not believe Washington.
They didn't play UCLA.
And the other one was Utah, and he didn't exactly light it up against Utah. I mean, Pac-12 is a defense optional league. And then they went up against Texas, who has, like I said, one of the worst secondaries in the country. So, I mean, what's the based on a couple good games against Oregon? I mean, is that what you're going to base his career on?
No, we're going to base his career on starting for 3 years.
Okay.
He's a starting quarterback for 3.5 years.
Okay. So I guess you want to draft him because he's 26 or something.
Well, first of all, I'm not making that decision, and I didn't say anything about what I evaluated Michael Penix as a pro. But if you're talking about right now, who can throw the football better, more consistently, further down the field, especially Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy, the answer is Michael Penix.
I would say that, but I would not say it was by a considerable amount. Say
Okay.
JJ can throw absolute ropes when he wants to. His big problem is that like I said, I've always said he's kind of a hero ball guy. He wants to try and thin the thinnest of needle eyes. He throws across body a lot. He'll make some decisions that make me just wonder what he's thinking, because he just has too much of a killer mentality, and it sometimes bites him in the butt. But as far as accuracy, I would take McCarthy over Penix. Now, I mean, if it's just strictly throwing deep balls, but I've been on the argument that probably, in my opinion, as far as like NFL scouting and the most overrated aspect of a quarterback is arm strength. Because to me, it doesn't matter if you can throw the ball 80 yards if you're going to overthrow your wide receivers by 15 yards. It makes absolutely no difference. I mean, look at the court. Brady did not have an exceptional arm. Peyton Manning had a average to below average arm. But then you have some other guys. Jamarcus Russell could throw it to the moon and beyond. I can name a lot of quarterbacks that could just throw the dimples off a ball and it wouldn't hit anybody. So what's the point? I mean, you're looking at, accuracy. Can you read a defense? These are the kind of things that JJ either has or can develop. Penix, I mean, he throws a decent. Jalen Milroe throws a decent deep ball. I don't think he's going to be drafted anywhere in the first round, or at least not if I was an NFL GM.
Well, I would say that there are a lot of quarterbacks who were drafted in the first round that prior to their senior season, nobody thought that they were anywhere close to a first round pick. For two reasons. They got better, number one. Number two, that teams are desperate for franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd have told me that Josh Allen was going to get drafted in the first round, let alone the top, what was he, like 9th or something?
Yeah, look at Josh Allen's college stats.
Yeah, I mean, he was below 50% at Wyoming. I mean, I would have said,
Well, I don't know if he was below 50%, but he wasn't good.
I'd have to check. I thought he was like either right at 50 or below it.
I'm going to go 57%. It's going to be my guess. We'll see here in a second. So, what else about the ball game tonight, Mike?
Just from the fact that, I mean, I kind of said my piece. I thought this was a good matchup. I thought that Washington was a better matchup for us in Texas. I still would have been a little bit worrisome if we had to play Texas, but I like the fact that we were able to get pressure on Penix with having the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. So I'm just going to go ahead and relish in the moment here, and I'll let the next caller take over.
Well, thank you, Mike. You are welcome anytime. You know that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Michigan fans, regardless of what I say, regardless of what anyone says to take away from your night, I'm just here to analyze the game and discuss it with all of you. And there is one subject that's completely off the table, and that is the situation involving the scandal this year. We're not going to deal with that. So in no way do I want to detract from anything that Michigan accomplished this season or tonight to bring that up. So that's the only thing that I would take off the table. But everything else involving Michigan football, involving tonight's game, involving the rest of it, absolutely. And Ralph, thank you so much for the comment in the chat. I appreciate that. I do my best. I was off by an enormous 0.8% on Josh Allen's completion percentage in college, 56.2. All right, Matthew Miller with a contribution. Matthew, I should be paying you, sir. But Matthew comes in with a comment right here. Michigan's defense is better, meaning than Texas, but he made better throws versus Texas. But both can be true. He was 5 for 5 on contested throws and 10 for 10 on 20 yards downfield versus Texas. He missed 2 throws versus Texas and like 7 versus Michigan. That's kind of how I laid it out. looking at a 40 throw comparison roughly. Yes, both can be true. Michigan had a better pass rush than Texas, exceedingly better coverage than Texas. And those are the two facets of defending a pass before the guy actually catches the ball and you got to tackle him. They're basically two. If you want to boil it down to the most basic in pass defense, rush the passer and cover the guys downfield. And Michigan did both exceedingly better than Texas. Again, just talking about if we would take the 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, whatever the number, it's somewhere in that range, where Michael Penix in both games had a clean pocket, nobody bothering him, patting the football, and had a receiver open. He made more of those throws against Texas than he did against Michigan. That's fine. That doesn't take away from Michigan's defensive effort on 75 or 80% of the dropbacks. All right. Next up, we got Jackson stopping by. Jackson, what's going on tonight?
Oh, going pretty good. Just talking some national championship with you, Mark, and making sure I dressed up for the part tonight.
Oh, you dressed up. Well, we want to see that. Give me just a second here. We'll get you set up here.
And it's I think next year I'll probably try to go for the suit.
You're looking sharp tonight. Very nice.
Oh, thank you, man. I think one of these days I'm gonna have to get one of those little Voice of College Football shirts, like that little long sleeve one.
Yes, we do appreciate that. Yeah, we got some fine gear there. I used to dress up myself much nicer for these shows years back. But hey, that was another time and place. All right.
Oh man, one of these days we'll have to talk about that for sure. But tonight was
dive into the archives and you see me with suit jackets on and ties and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
There we go. But I will say tonight we saw Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards having a great game. And Donovan Edwards, I saw a stat where he had a 46-yard touchdown and a 41-yard touchdown, and it was only second and third to Derrick Henry in the history of the national championship era for the national championships in the playoff era, where Derrick Henry had a 50-yard touchdown against Clemson in 2016. I was like, nice. It's pretty big.
So he had the 2 longest touchdown runs. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
And Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Yep. In the national championship in the playoff era. Yes.
How about Zeke Elliott went 85 yards against Bama?
Yeah, that was pretty big right there. I mean, old Zeke. I'm curious to see how he's doing in New England. I mean, I hope he's doing all right over there. But it was pretty big to see Michigan winning their first natty since 1997. But it's also their first national title where they're not sharing it since 1948. So
yeah,
that's pretty big. Yeah, Benny Osterbein was their head coach during that time. Oh, man. Everything was in black and white back then.
Yeah, it's tough to find those games on YouTube. Tough for Michigan to find. They had one 1998 Rose Bowl to hang their hat on in regards to actually going back and watching that. But now they've got 2 to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game for the Wolverines. I hate that Dylan Johnson was hurting all over, because I know he was hurting from the Sugar Bowl last week. And he got hurt a little bit tonight in the first quarter. I was sad to see him getting hurt tonight.
There is video of the 1948 Rose Bowl. So I assume they mean the 49 Rose Bowl for the 48 season on YouTube. So there is video of, well, it would be film of the Michigan win over USC to win the 1948 national championship. It's on right here. Very nice.
There we go.
That's 6 minutes of highlights.
There we go. But yeah, I think unfortunately back in the 40s, they didn't have anybody as repeat champions in the Rose Bowl. I think they didn't do that until like the 60s for the Pac, but then like the Big Ten, they changed that to 1975.
Yeah. Ohio State went to the Rose Bowl in 72, 73, 74, 75. So that's when they changed that.
Yeah, that was like, nope. we're making that rule go away. It was basically moments like this why Blake Corum returned for the 2023 season. Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna talk about like the Harbaugh stuff because I'll wait a few days for that because I want Michigan Nation to enjoy their national championship. I want them to play the Peanuts music and play Celebration and play like some of the best Elvis songs like Little Less Conversation and Hound Dog.
Jackson making me feel good tonight.
There we go.
Playing my tunes.
Oh, man. Well, one of these days I'll have to tell you where I first heard about Elvis songs. I'll tell you what.
We'll have that conversation. Maybe, well, this is a conversation for another night as well. I was going to tell you what maybe we could kind of drift off into another level of programming. Not we wouldn't do it during this show, of course, but maybe there's a time during the week every week that we could, explore some other stuff here at the Voice of College Football.
That we could. That'd be awesome. Oh man, it's been a great 2023 season. I'm sad to see it go, but then again, I'm counting down to August 24th of the 2024 college football season. And I'm already getting excited about the ACC schedule getting announced and the Big 12 schedule being official.
When are those getting announced?
Don't know when, but I know it's going to be sometime this month.
Okay. I got to be ready for that.
Oof.
Got to be ready for those.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be exciting.
All right, Jackson. Anything else, man?
Oh, man. I went over a little bit about next year's playoff schedule, see what they got. And this is what I just put real quick for next year. This is what the schedule looks like for the 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
So they got first round games for December 20th. They got a Friday game. They're starting out with a Friday game. And they're doing 3 first round games for December 21st. And they got the national title for January 20th.
Yeah, that's going to take some time for me to get used to, but we can certainly delve into that. We've got about 8 months to get into that.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be awesome. And Mark, thank you for having me on. And I'm already counting down the next season.
All right, Jackson. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Stay safe, stay warm.
All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. Michigan, this night is for you. Michigan fans, Wolverine fans, 34-13 over Washington. First national championship since 1997. First of the playoff era. And we've got Adam on the line. Adam, what's going on? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. What's going
on? I'll keep this short. First, congratulations to Michigan. Awesome team this year. Great coaching by Harbaugh, Jesse Minter. They deserved it, and it should not be vacated, certainly. The only thing I'd say is this. When I'm watching the game tonight, I keep thinking about Georgia. I think Georgia should have been in the playoff. I think Georgia should have competed against Michigan for the national title. They were better than Washington. They were better than Texas. And for them to only lose one game by 3 points when 2 of their top wideouts are hurt, that's the team that should have played Michigan for the national title. Now, maybe Michigan would have won. I don't know. But that, I think, would have been the 4 best teams. And, a lot of people talk about You have to focus on, did you win your conference championship, or are you undefeated? That's too superficial, in my opinion. That's like someone on a college admissions committee saying, well, this applicant has a 4.0 GPA and this one has a 3.8 GPA. Well, that doesn't mean the 4.0 GPA is necessarily better. You have to look at what school did they go to? What did they major in? You have to look at going more depth. And I think if we had done that, the 4 best teams would have included Georgia. What do you think?
Well, I could certainly grind down your comparison of GPAs even further, because you could be a person who earns an A in a course and you got a 95, but the other person could be like have a legendary ability. Like they could be a complete phenom in that category, but it still gets measured in A versus an A. There's all sorts of different ways you can slice it, but I believe that if you ask College Football Nation, and I would agree with them, what game would you want to see right now if you could add one game to the season? It would be Georgia and Michigan.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And look, people are saying Georgia lost. Well, yeah, they lost, and Texas lost to Oklahoma, and Georgia lost when Bowers and McConkey were injured. So, I hope in the future, even with a 12-team playoff, we're still not arguing about who should be the 12th or 13th team. We should be focused on, I think, who the best teams are, regardless of what whether they win a conference championship or whether they're 13-0 or 12-1. But I'm sure people will disagree. Thanks, as always, for awesome shows and for a great analysis. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you being here. You always make a whole lot of sense.
Appreciate it. Have a great night.
And just to further on Adam's point, of course, 2 teams out of the 4 came into this college football playoff with 1 loss, Texas and Bama. And if either one of them won the national championship, nobody would dispute it, because we've got a format that you make the playoff, and regardless of what shape you're in or what your qualifications are, once you slip in the door and you're one of those 4, and then if you're able to win it, that justifies everything. Now, is that fair? Is that right? Not necessarily, but that's the way it is. So the whole 1-loss deal, Georgia lost a game. Well, there's all sorts of examples of teams losing a game and still being selected to an invitational, whether that's during the BCS era or during the college football playoff era, and considered good enough to be playing in the playoff or in a championship game despite losing a game. It was all situational, and the scenario played out in which the conference championship is going to be honored, and so Alabama's going to make it over Georgia because that's the way things work. Although my big knocks against the committee is basically this. The committee has criteria that they adhere to that is reasonable criteria, but they don't apply that criteria exactly the same or in the same order with every situation, with every team. They pick and choose which criteria they're going to use for this situation. So they go into their bag of criteria and say, you know what? We're going to apply A, C, and E here. All right. For this situation in this team, we're going to use criteria B, D, and F. So that's what I don't like about the college football playoff approach, the committee approach. And some people will argue, well, there are different people on the committee all the time and they switch them out, and they're actually going to be switching out 7 of the members for next season. The deal, though, is that the criteria and their call has not changed. The mission has not changed. The people have changed. It's much like the Supreme Court or anything else. Just because there are new people in the Supreme Court doesn't mean that they should be approaching the job differently, or the role of each judge at the Supreme Court is different. It's not. All right. We got Dave stopping by here at the Voice of College Football tonight. Dave, what's going on?
Hey, Mark. How's it going? Can you hear me?
I gotcha. How are you?
Okay, good. I'm doing really good. Congratulations to Michigan. I'm very happy for my family that lives out in Michigan, and somewhere, up in the upstairs, my cousin John is very, very happy right now.
Well, that's very nice of you and very hospitable for you to recognize your Michigan family, extended family. I thought maybe you were going to come on here tonight and explain how if Minnesota could have just pulled out 7 more games this year, they would be the national champions.
Yeah. Maybe if it was back in the '60s.
They're only one of let's see, they're only one of about 40 teams across the nation that has a postseason victory.
Yeah. Well, hey, we start undefeated next year. That's how it all begins.
That's right.
So yeah. Oh God, what was I talk? I mean, I was hearing some good stuff, some good arguments. The biggest thing that I was going to say, is what Ohio State fans, since you are an Ohio State fan.
We're not supposed to let that out, Dave. I'm just kidding. Keep going. Hello, Dave? You still with us, Dave? I said something wrong. All right, Dave. Call back, and we will put you right on. Dave, one more time. Okay. All right. We will go to our next call. We got Jonathan on the line. Jonathan, what's going on tonight?
Not much. Just got done watching the game. How are you doing, Mark?
I am good.
As you can tell, I'm a Browns fan, but I also got the Buckeyes hat, so I'm kind of torn Saturday.
Buckeyes and the Browns.
Yeah.
You're torn on Saturday?
Yeah. Well, the Browns play C.J. Stroud. So,
okay. From that standpoint. Gotcha.
Yeah. I did want to say as a Buckeyes fan, congrats to the Michigan fans and the University of Michigan. Only thing I'm going to say about the scandal thing is either way, it shouldn't tarnish, like people are saying it's an asterisk, and the players didn't do anything wrong. So let's stop with the asterisk. The players played the game. They did what they told. They deserve that championship, no matter what you think, whether it's an asterisk or not. That's just my opinion. The coach is a different situation. Now, I caught stuff being a Buckeyes fan. I'd rather use a different word, but I'm not, out of respect for your show, I'm not going to. Because when the playoffs were announced, I posted up. I said, as much as this hurts me, go blue. Because if there's one team that I dislike more than Michigan is Alabama. But my question to you is, did you feel like, I felt like Michigan caught a break with Washington beating Texas. I thought Texas could match up better defensively against Michigan than Washington could. But do you feel like these last couple of years, the national title game has happened in the first round of these playoffs?
Well, certainly last year, yes. I think that proved out pretty decisively. Ohio State would have trounced TCU, not 65-7, but 45-21, whatever it would have been. Yes, the Georgia-Ohio State game was the de facto national championship game. Now, this year, I don't think it was nearly as clear, but I did think that the Michigan-Alabama winner would win the national championship. That's how I forecasted it going into the playoffs.
Yes. And I do got to say, it is kind of, I guess, bittersweet. Not really bittersweet. I'm trying to think of the right word. Ironic that the last year of the 4-team playoff on an SEC network, ESPN, let's just call ESPN an SEC network because that's what it is. 2, I guess now Big Ten teams played for the national title game. So I'm not a normal Buckeyes fan. I root for Michigan throughout the whole year because I want them to be undefeated every year when we play them. I root for every Big Ten school there is. Well, Penn State, I don't care for Penn State. That whole Joe Paterno thing, that thing kind of ruined it for me. But like I said, the scandal thing, I know you said don't talk about it. I just got positive things to say about it. Don't make it a big deal because the players had nothing to do with it. They deserve the ring.
Yeah.
They deserve the title. I wanted to ask you, my buddy, he called me after the game. He's a huge Michigan fan. he said, well, Harbaugh's probably gone. He's hired an agent and everything. He brought up two names. He brought up Jeff Halfley, and he said something about someone he knows heard a rumor about the Michigan wanting to reach out to Minnesota about buying out PJ Fleck. Do you think Harbaugh is leaving, and do you think those would be two considerable options for them to go after?
I was asked before the game, during our pregame, by a couple people whether I thought Harbaugh was going to leave. And then I laid out all the factors that I thought are going through his mind. I won't go through them, both football, family, other things involved. But I don't know the man, but I'm laying out what guys in his position usually look at in regards to their career objectives and legacy. He's not hurting for money. He's not taking a job for money. He's got family considerations. And then him just maybe being tired of college football, and especially everything that a coach has to deal with NIL and with the transfer portal. I would much rather deal with grown men in an NFL locker room and have a general manager and a player personnel director and all of that support at the NFL level, not have to deal with whether, and much of this has to do with pre-NIL and transfer portal, with making sure kids were going to class and staying out of trouble and all that other business. I'd much rather deal with an NFL locker room if I was a head coach. But we also know that he has objectives there. It has to gnaw at him being as competitive as he is, and you can't win to the degree he has and not be competitive and be a former NFL quarterback that his brother beat him in a Super Bowl, and now he's got a national championship in college. So I answered it actually the other way, that I thought it was more like a 60-40 that he would stay at Michigan, but I forgot the part that that you just named, and I had heard that a couple of weeks ago, that he hired an agent at the NFL level. So that tells us a ton. And he's won this game tonight, so that's got to sway him in a large degree that he accomplished his mission. I'm going to go from what I stated before the game to more like 75-25. He's gone.
Yeah. And I know a team in the NFL that they're talking about is the Chargers, which would be in the AFC, which is the same conference his brother is in. So I mean that might be intriguing, like you said about, his brother beat him in the Super Bowl. I did want to say something about the caller that came. I can't remember his name. He had all the Michigan stuff on the yellow. Those are I don't hate anyone. That's a strong word. I just think be humble. I just don't think coming on and bashing a quarterback that had two great seasons, like he was bashing Michael Penix. I just don't think you should really do that. Obviously, Michigan's defense is better, but the kid played his heart out. I will say I think Caleb DeBoer should have pulled that kid out at the end of that game. You see that kid's in pain. Yeah. He's hurt. He's going into the NFL. Can you pull that kid out, please?
No, that's a great point. That is actually
I'm holding my breath for that kid.
That didn't cross my mind, and I really didn't think about him. It should have connected earlier, but until he was walking up the tunnel and he's holding when you saw he's already wearing like a flak jacket type deal.
And that's probably the thickest padding I've ever seen.
Yes.
And not only that, but I was telling my buddy, you're not even calling extra blocking plays. Like you're sending everyone out on a 2-yard crossing pattern. You don't have any extra blockers out there. I just think that was a bad look for Caleb DeBoer. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He's a great coach, but I think that was a very selfish move, in my opinion. Maybe Penix wanted to stay in. Hey, I got him there. This is part. He probably felt like it was his fault that they were losing that bad. But at some point, you got to be like, hey, kid, you got to think about your future. You got to pull the kid out. I mean, and I do want to talk about JJ McCarthy. I don't think he's a first-round talent. I'm sorry, I just don't. And I'm not hating on the kid. He's a good quarterback. But how many first-round quarterbacks go into the – how many quarterbacks go in the first round where you had to run the ball 32 straight times and have to primarily rely on your running game to win games? I just think – and he was saying about, oh, well, this is all stuff he can develop. Well, everyone can develop. You know, I don't know. I think he's a good quarterback. He's probably going to go in the first round because there's like 6 teams hungry for a quarterback. And hopefully he does well in the NFL. I root for all these kids. It don't matter what school you go to. You know, my buddy was so happy to see the Dolphins lose last night because he's a big Tua hater because he don't like Alabama, and I don't. That's not who I am. I don't like Alabama, but I don't wish any harm on any player. You know, unless your name's Tom Brady. But just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I am, like the one caller said, I'm sad to see that the season is over with. Congratulations to Michigan. I hope you guys have they have a tough schedule next year.
Yeah.
They have a tough schedule. My buddy was telling me that the way too early top 25 on ESPN they had like Ohio State, Michigan 5-6. And Oregon at 3 or 4. So I guess they're valuing Dylan Gabriel as the next coming of Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So, but I think Michigan's got Washington, USC, and Oregon on their schedule next year.
I don't exactly remember. I know once they hit Texas in week 2, and then they go into the Big Ten, and it's like Penn State, Wisconsin. They've got about a 6-game stretch that's crazy tough.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to ask, because I did watch that USC game. What do you think about? I can't remember the quarterback's name for
Miller
USC
Moss?
now. Yeah, the one who threw the 6 touchdowns?
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Do you think that they'll have something there with him?
Well, he was a high recruit. He was a high 4-star. I did not see the game against Louisville. Like, I saw a play here and a play there, but I was spending time with family and just kind of had a laptop open with the game on, so I didn't really watch it.
Yeah.
He obviously carved it up statistically, but Louisville was missing some key components on defense. I know that my USC guys like him as a backup quarterback. I don't think that they're overjoyed that he's going to be the starter next year if they don't figure something out in the transfer portal, which I don't know who's left at this point that's going to be better than him. But I think he's a good quarterback. Yeah, I think he'll be, and I hate to bring this name up, but it's right there in front of me. It's the first one that popped in my. I think he will be Kyle McCord.
Where did Kyle end up transferring to again?
And he's kind of similar to him, Syracuse.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Who in their right mind leaves Ohio State? Someone must be paying him a lot of money. I didn't want to bring up Ohio State because normally I do, but I did want to ask you. Came across my phone earlier that the running back from Ole Miss just transferred to Ohio State.
Yes, he did.
Thoughts on that and thoughts on Ward choosing to enter the draft? I guess from what I was told and from what I read, Ohio State was extremely interested in Ward from Washington State. Thoughts on him entering the draft, the running back, and then Will Howard, and then I'll let you go.
Well, just about everybody had Cam Ward rated as the best quarterback. Now, I've seen Will Howard play a lot more than Cam Ward just because I didn't watch a lot of Washington State. I would see him throw for a series, and then I'd be off to another game. So I never sat and watched Cam Ward. I can't think of one time that I watched him from start to finish for an entire game. But he was pretty much ranked the number 1 quarterback, and that's why he has the opportunity to go off to the NFL draft, which really no other quarterback was in that position to be just make an automatic call that, yeah, I got the draft grade back, I'm ready. So he was certainly the number 1 guy available. So that's why Ohio State wanted him. Dual threat guy, but not a guy that's looking to run all the time, but he can.
Yeah.
And just a live arm. Yes. So Will Howard is not Cam Ward. However, it's not like Cam Ward had remarkable stats and didn't have issues protecting the ball, because he did. He had quite a few turnovers at Washington State. Will Howard, the first time I saw him play extensively was Adrian Martinez, the old Nebraska quarterback, was the Kansas State starter at the beginning of last year. He won the job, but once he got nicked up and they brought in Will Howard, forget it. Adrian Martinez never got his job back. Will Howard was a much better quarterback. He's
I think the most memorial
6'5".
game he had, a memorable game, was that TCU game that when they had that big shootout.
Yes. There's two reasons why Will Howard should be an improvement over Kyle McCord. One is that he's mobile.
Yeah.
He's much more mobile. And Ryan Day needs to just let him play. So I'm hoping Ryan Day is not going to coach him into. Now, there's being stupid and putting yourself in harm's way, but then there's also not allowing him to be who he is, because that's one of his assets, that he can run. And, he can hit a safety and knock him over, or glance off of him. He's a physical runner too. And then the other thing is, I don't know that he's that much more gifted of a thrower that I don't think he is than Kyle McCord. I think it's just simply this guy's thrown 800 passes in college football, and Kyle McCord came into this year with basically 0 meaningful attempts in college football. So he better be better than Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
He should be.
I hope so. I actually like Will Howard. I have a couple friends who are Buckeyes fans that they're Buckeyes fans. There's good Buckeyes fans, and then there's the ones that just talk out of their whats. And they're bashing the bringing on Will Howard, and he couldn't do it in the Big 12. And Texas and Oklahoma and TCU, it's not like they were pushovers, and I can't. The TCU ended up winning that Big 12 championship game, right?
No,
Kansas State won that.
Won it. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, so he did win it.
Yes.
So do you think it's pretty much a done deal with the Devin Brown? And when is Aaron Nolan? When is he eligible to play?
Well, I think he's going to be an early enrollee.
Okay.
So I don't think it's usually wise to start a true freshman quarterback, but there are guys like Trevor Lawrence and there are guys like Deshaun Watson that have started as true freshman quarterback.
Right.
So possible.
I don't see him bringing in Will Howard to just to start Aaron Nolan, but
no,
I think it's pretty much a done deal that Devin Brown might not be here next year, or
I think he's the most likely to leave. Devin Brown is the most likely to leave. Lincoln Keenholz has a whole extra year of eligibility over Devin Brown, so I think he's going to stick around.
If I'm being honest, I think Devin Brown would be more of a fit on like a Navy team or Georgia Tech, those triple option.
Yeah, he doesn't impress me throwing the ball.
No. But yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on the running back. I didn't get to really watch much of Ole Miss this year, so normally I watch a lot of them, strictly because I like their jerseys. I'm not going to lie.
I do too. I think they got a great color scheme.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask your thoughts on that, and I'm still a little upset about Julian Fleming transferring.
Yeah.
I never understood that. I mean, Ohio State does nothing but produce NFL wide receivers. And you leave, but I don't know if it's something to say about what Ryan Day's trying to do, or maybe he's just losing the locker room. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But I just wanted your thoughts on the running back from Ole Miss and what do you think about maybe letting Brian Hartline call the plays a little more next year?
I think that Julian Fleming might be a little intimidated by who else is in that wide receiver room.
Because they said Tate's just as good as Harrison. Yes,
just as good as Harrison. They just got the number 1 wide receiver in the country by far, Jeremiah Smith. Yes, they're loaded at wide receiver. So Quinshon Judkins, he was not highly recruited out of high school. Like he was a 3-star. He could play at a number of schools, but he wasn't a blue chipper. And I saw him very early, right when he started to get carries. I remember his second or third game at Ole Miss. in 2022, and I thought, man, this guy's good. And yeah, if they put Key and Travion Henderson and allow them to be in the same backfield at times, but most of the time them just to give each other a change up and a rest.
Yeah.
You know, because they usually have Carlos Hyde, Zeke Elliott, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah,
They
is he a
usually have
thumper?
one guy, and then they've got a big drop off. If they had both of those guys, wow.
Is what you say his name was again?
Quinshawn Judkins.
Judkins. Is he a more of like a thumper back, or is he? Because I think I've seen him a little bit
Well, he's a
last
big
year, not this
physical
year.
back, but he's not Mayan Williams. He can run.
Right.
He can go.
Okay. Yeah, that's another, like the Chip Trainum thing. Like they did. It seemed like Ohio State kind of really tried to do what they could to help that kid, and he
Yeah.
transferred. You know.
No, this guy's better than Chip Trainum.
Yeah. So, well, congratulations. Oh, one more, the Brian Hartline thing, just real quick. Do you think that he should let Brian Hartline maybe call some plays? You know.
Well, I think that if he wants to hang on to Brian Hartline, that so they made the first good move by promoting him and showing that trust in him and saying, "Hey, we value you, so we're going to give you the position." But
I actually know him personally, so that's why I'm asking.
oh, nice. I do think that it's a difficult, especially in this day and age, with the NIL and with the transfer portal heaped onto everything else, for head coaches to be calling plays.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Day should still be very involved because he's just so good at that. But to have that on his plate and not be thinking about game management and what's going on with the team and both sides of the ball and all that.
Yeah.
I think that they need to position Brian Hartline to be able to call plays.
Yeah, my buddy of mine said at the bowling alley the other. He's like somebody said it would make no sense for Marvin Harrison to take a pay cut and enter the NFL draft this year. I guess somebody offered him $25 million to come back and play one more year at Ohio State, and I'm like, the NIL. I think they do need to put a cap on that. I believe in paying the players, but like you got players out here making more money in 1 year than NFL players make in like 3 years.
Well, there's only one problem with that, though, Jonathan. It's that because we've got a capitalistic society, then that would be like saying, and Lord, this would be great if this ever happened. Mark makes too much money producing shows on YouTube. He just $10 million is ridiculous for any YouTuber to be making. So we got to put a cap on it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't artificially just put a cap on what people are willing to give someone. But the way that it would ever get taken care of is if it all gets incorporated and then it becomes the SEC, the Big Ten, all these leagues become a corporation. So then you can cap it because you're running a business and you're saying, we need X number of percentage for expenses. We need X number of percentage for facilities. We need, just like the NFL. And the NFL has figured out a formula to say, we need this much to run our business and keep a profit for our teams and our owners. Therefore, if we make this much money, then the cap goes up 3%. If we make this much money, it has to drop because it's all tied to a business formula. But if people are just giving money, then you can't regulate that.
Right. No, I get it. It was more of I guess a careless comment that I made. I think it's just.
Yeah. It's not
you
good.
Can just throw 50. You can just throw $50 million at one person. And be like, all right, yeah, well, I'm going to this goal. You know, like, I guess I'm old fashioned, even though I'm only mid-30s.
Oh, it's out of control.
So, but just one more thing. I was reading. I kept looking over at my big screen because I see these Buckeyes fans saying I'm trashing Ryan. I don't want Ryan Day to be fired. I just think, like you said, he should have to focus more on the game management and less on calling every single play. Yes, he should still have a hand in designing plays and putting his input on what kind of plays are here and situational. But I do think taking some of that play calling duties off of his shoulders would help him, especially in bigger games, because he does call games completely different. You know, when we're beating up on smaller teams, he's constantly going for it on fourth down and areas where he shouldn't go for it on fourth down. But when you get up against the Penn States and the Michigan, you play very conservative, and it bites us in the butt. It bit us in the butt this past year this past time against Michigan. It just, the conservative play calling in the big games has been very, very obvious lately. I just want them to keep the same aggressiveness against the smaller teams when we go up and play the bigger schools. So, but congratulations to Michigan. Thank you for taking my call, Mark, and I hope you have a great night.
Thanks, Jonathan. You too. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jonathan made a great commentary about the Michael Penix situation. That was well stated. That's not something that really hit home with me. The clock was running down. I was moving some things from the living room out here, getting set up, and it just didn't connect with me that, yeah, there was a time late in that game where Kalen DeBoer, and I have great respect for him. I understand that he's a tremendous coach beyond the X's and O's and the nuts and bolts of running a football operation, that he seems like he really cares about his players. He's a really good guy. But yes, I completely agree with Jonathan that there was a point in that game that he just exposed Michael Penix to more of a beating and more wear and tear, and exposed him to potential serious injury. And the game was out of reach, and it was out of hand, and it was done. Absolutely. And the comment of the night actually comes in from M. And I appreciate this, especially coming from a Michigan fan. This is a tremendous comment. I'm going to take this one to my grave. When I see comments like this, I feel like cutting them out, screenshot, boom, throwing them all over Twitter. There you go. M thinks I'm worth more than $10 million per year. You know what? You can even take off the zero. We'll give $9 million to charity, and I'm good with that. Michigan fans, I want you to all know that regardless of what has been said tonight, so the slightly derogatory comments would be that I certainly question Michael Penix's performance versus what he performed against Texas. Again, I thought that was a very small percentage of throws that by and large on 80% of the dropbacks, it had nothing to do with Michael Penix. It was all about Michigan's secondary, Michigan's defensive rush being better than Texas by far. No comparison between the two units. There's a comparison between the talent level of the two units. They're very comparable. So Michigan's doing something very right with its defense, both from a player development standpoint, I think is even more important than the schemes and the concepts. Taking Mike Sanders-Still as a wide receiver and making him one of the best cover corners, especially in the slot in college football, that's a great testament to what Michigan's doing. I posted a short, which these YouTube people are telling me all the time, if we're going to blow up the channel, got to produce shorts. So I got to get on that. I should produce a short every day. Should be a simple thing to do, but I'm always like, what am I going to produce a short on? Well, Mark, you just did a 12-minute video. You can do a short. Anyway, I posted a short a couple weeks ago because I said something about I was very vague and veiled in what is Michigan's secret ingredient to gunning for a national championship. And I stated it in such a way that I think that some people were led to, and I was trolling just a bit because I knew some people would think he's talking about cheating, that's their secret ingredient. No, that's not what I was thinking, because we've had this conversation on here. Transfer portal. Michigan has not been outlandish like a Florida State. Florida State has improved its team considerably. Its transfer portal additions made them the best team in the ACC by far. Michigan made very calculated moves in the transfer portal. Josh Wallace, Drake Nugent, Ladarius Henderson, and others. Very calculated moves at positions of need. Just an exceptional job. didn't miss. AJ Barner did not miss in the transfer portal. So that's what I was alluding to when I posted this short, Michigan's secret ingredient. And I was going to follow up on that and say, you know what it is? It's the transfer portal. That's where Michigan has been able to close this talent gap that they have trailed Ohio State in particular, Alabama, Georgia. So despite some of the things that have been said about where Washington would have had an opportunity to get back in the game, and I thought it was a very competitive game, and I thought Washington had gone from a place where they were getting mauled in the first quarter. Their rush defense was getting obliterated to where they held their own, they stemmed the tide, they got back in the ball game. And even with the Michael Penix interception, that, hey, here's a perfect example. That Michael Penix interception to open the second half, that was not Michael Penix making a bad throw, making a bad read against defense that didn't matter because he just missed a wide open receiver or he didn't see somebody or he just threw a bad head. No, that was forced by a great move by, I believe that was Mason Graham, who just threw his dude into Michael Penix. And it forced Penix, even though he sensed it at the last second and thought, I just need to get this ball out of bounds. He was so jarred that it fell short and Will Johnson made the pick. That is what I'm talking about. That is a defensive play. The defense made that play. That was not Michael Penix's fault. That was not just, it didn't matter what the defense was out there because NFL fans, go back to Super Bowl, I don't remember the number of the Super Bowl, 1996. Cowboys, Steelers. What happened in the fourth quarter of that game? Neil O'Donnell threw two passes that had no destination close to a receiver. There was a misread between he and the receiver both times. And who was just standing there waiting for the football to hit him right in the hands. And all the Cowboys did, Larry Brown did, was catch the football. I could have been standing there. And I can just about guarantee, because I can catch a football, and especially in 1996, I could catch a football, that I would have caught the football. Now, would I have ran it all the way down to the 3-yard line? Maybe not. 1996, maybe. Anyway, caught the football. But that was an unforced error. That was a complete situation where the defense didn't force that. The defense had nothing to do with that. That was a complete miscommunication. The quarterback made a bad decision or a bad read or miscommunication with the wide receiver. That was a gift twice to lose the Super Bowl. Penix made a few of those, a few more against Michigan than he did against Texas. However, about 80% of the time, when he was missing throws, it was because the coverage was so much better and the pass rush so much more devastating. So we were simply, Michigan fans, analyzing Michael Penix's performance, which some of it was worse than it was against Texas, and Michigan had to do with most of that, but not all of it. He did not throw the ball quite as well as he did against Texas. And that was one of the big talking points I had with our guy, Lars Hansen from the Huskies Lockdown podcast, to say Michael Penix played this well against Texas. I'm not sure that he can play that well again. I'm not sure that he can replicate it. Now, I was confident and still am that he would have a higher percentage chance of replicating that performance. But still, that's tough to replicate. Meaning, for most quarterbacks, if Will Howard, and that's probably a bad name to pull because of the obvious rivalry. Okay, let's go with KJ Jefferson. We'll just go with a good college quarterback. If he threw like Michael Penix against Texas, I would say there's a 1% chance that he's ever going to do that again. But with Michael Penix, I still think that the odds were against him replicating that performance. But I think he was more capable of doing that than maybe it was a 30% chance that he could do that again. But I still think it was a bit low. He hit his ceiling or came close to it, and he just wasn't able to perform at the same level. Again, Michigan had most to do with that, but not all, not every time that he dropped back. So I don't want this performance in any way to be taken away from Michigan just because I made some analysis and a couple of callers that Michael Penix missed some throws, number one, or that there's always a few things in a football game. Look at the Alabama-Michigan game. Because Michigan won the game, it is only common sense and it's only reality that you tend to look at the losing team and think, what could they have done better? What went wrong for them that could have changed for them to win the game? You're not going to look at the winning team and say, what else could have happened for them that they would have won the game by more? It's human nature to look at Alabama in the Rose Bowl game and say, okay, they barely lost. What could they have done to have won the game? Well, there's a lot of things you could point out. You could point out 20 things that Alabama could have done or that went against them, just the luck of the draw. But if Alabama would have won the game, I would have done the same thing on the Michigan side. I would have said, well, if Michigan would have done that or not had that happen, if they would have. Now, when you've got a bad snap on a PAT, I consider that to be, that's a bad snap on a PAT. You need to be able to snap the ball, or if you muff a punt. But there are things like tipping a ball at the line of scrimmage. And once it gets tipped at the line of scrimmage, it's a complete luck of the draw where that ball goes. There was a play in the Dolphins-Bills game last night where I don't know that I've ever seen this before. Maybe I have a couple times, but this is extremely rare. There was a ball thrown by Josh Allen that got batted at the line, and the ball shot probably another 15 to 20 yards to the back of the end zone, was caught for a touchdown pass. That's complete luck. Now, the catch wasn't luck. He had to catch the ball. And the batted ball at the line was not luck. That was a good defensive play. But he got unlucky, the defender, that he deflected it right to that ball could have went that way or this. There is a element of luck in any sport. There is a small element of luck. I don't believe in luck. What I mean by that are there are things that happen that are random. I don't believe in luck like you're lucky, I'm unlucky, she's lucky, he's lucky, they're not lucky. I don't believe in that. I believe that there are random things that happen that in the moment you could consider it luck. The punt hit at the 1 yard line and at a crucial time in the game, and it rolled into the end zone. Versus it kicked and it just popped straight up in the air and the guy caught it and downed it at the 1. Well, the punter had no control over that. That was complete luck, one way or the other, whether you consider it bad or good luck, depending on which side you were on. Okay, went on a rant about luck. But we do appreciate you being around. Robert Stewart, I guess, would like to get lucky, or I don't know where he's going with that one. All right. Michigan, Ohio State was the natty. Well, as it turned out, it was awfully important. That's for sure. Always is. Usually is. Look at that. Tank is added up or came across this information somewhere where the Big Ten has won 44 national championships in the SEC 43. Now, are we adding USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon, and adding Oklahoma and Texas? Man, I would think with Alabama's got 18, depending on who you believe and who you go with. And that, of course, will be one of our conversations here at the Voice of College Football during the offseason. We'll go through those disputed national championships. If you noticed, we've got so much content coming your way during the offseason. Just hang in there. But the couple things that I'm working on today, I posted a bottom 10, just kind of a fun look at who's screwing up in college football and who's not getting the job done and who's just completely inept. So the bottom 10 video, check it out. Not many people watched it. I probably posted it at a bad time, but we got our bottom 10 video that we posted today, and also top 10 bowl games. I know the bowl games are meaningless. Nobody cares, but I still wanted to do my top 10 bowl games. Now, what I'm going to work on next, starting like now, like right now, I've already started, is we are going to post a video on every conference, and we are going to analyze that conference's results. And then we're going to rank the conferences. And then once we get done ranking the conferences, we're going to do a live stream and have all of you chime in. I have already analyzed the ACC and the Big 12. Do I have those in front of me? I guess not. I have looked at the Big 12 and the ACC, and I got to do the other three conferences, of course, and we will bid adieu to the Pac-12, but I will analyze the Pac-12, and we will do it up as we typically do here at the Voice of College Football, and I give it a different slant. Many, I just don't come on here and go, I think the SEC is about, they're still number one, and the Big Ten's number. No, we go through all the results. So, for example, the ACC was 18-31 against the other four conferences and Notre Dame. Do we leave it at that? Okay, the ACC 18-31 against the other four conferences. That sucks. They must be the worst. No, we analyzed the seeding. So I seeded all the teams in every conference, because you could be a 10 seed in a conference and play the 2 seed from another conference and lose the game by a touchdown. And you just get a loss. You're 0-1. So your conference sucks because you went 0-1. No, that was your 10th seed, your 10th place team taking on the second place team, and they played them well within a touchdown. So that's got to be taken into consideration. So go through all those metrics and scoring differentials, all of it, and we will go through all the conferences and rank them. Oh, we've concluded the college football season. So guess what's coming up first thing in the morning? Top 25 that actually makes sense. The final edition, the final for 2023. The top 25 that actually makes sense, followed by, in a few days, our 1 through 133 that actually make sense. We are ranking all the teams in 2023, 1 through 133. So we never rest here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate you being here. I hope I did not miss any super chats, so I will check. Who do we have? We've got Keith coming in with Michigan humbled every quarterback they faced this year. Our defense has proved to be the best in the Power 5. Expect more of the same for the next few years. Ignore this at your own peril. Well, I'm not ignoring it, Keith. You put a $10 spot on it, so I'm not ignoring it in any such way. Thank you for the contribution, and you have much to be proud of. Nick is saying right here, it's pronounced Mikey. Say ee, Sandra Still. And that hurt my throat to do. So I hope you recognize that, Nick. Mikey. Or is it that? Ee! Or is it just Mikey? I got a lot of mileage out of that super chat, Nick. Hope you appreciated that. Then we got Brian. Fun fact. Michigan is the first defense in 120 years to not give up more than 25 points in a single game. I did not realize that. So we got to go back to the 1903 somebody, probably Michigan, because I believe they won a national championship in 1903. And we've got Dave chiming in. Dave, thank you so much. Sorry about that, Mark. So Dave was on with us and then he got cut off and we couldn't get him back. I'm not in the greatest of buildings right now. Hopefully it's not condemned or falling down when it comes to reception. Okay, got it. My question was, what kind of excuses do you think that most Ohio State fans will have for Michigan winning this? Okay. Do you want me to start? I am going to, Dave and everyone else, I'm going to transform myself into the role of an Ohio State fan. Let me try to get in the right mindset. I'm going to try. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can conjure this up, but I'm a great actor and I am a great what would you call that? To kind of like there's a word for that when you kind of take on somebody else's persona. All right. Anyway, I'm not coming up with it's kind of a metaphysical kind of term. All right. I'm what is the term? When you shoot. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anybody? Is anybody listening to me? What is that term? When you channel somebody. Yes, channel. Did somebody say that? That is the term I was looking for. Okay. I am going to channel role play thespian. Try your best, Mark. Okay. We'll stay with that. So yes, I'm going to channel my inner Ohio State fan. Going to do my best. I'm going to push aside my any kind of bias, and I'm going to just try to do my best to think of myself as an Ohio State fan and how I would come up with excuses for Michigan winning the national championship this year. Well, so we've got number one, Ohio State would have won that game in Ann Arbor. There's no question about that because Kyle McCord didn't see a lot of open receivers. He threw a near pick six that he had no business of throwing. So if they just simply had a better quarterback, just a little bit better quarterback, shoot, Ohio State came within 35 yards. They played the closest game on the scoreboard to Michigan this year, of course. They only lost by 6 points on the road in the Big House. Difficult place to play. Ohio State was right there. And let's remember that second touchdown. According to Joel Klatt, Michigan's second touchdown should not have been allowed. The ball was taken away by Denzel Burke, right? And so that touchdown should have been taken off the board. And instead of Michigan going up 14-3, should have been 7-3. And Ohio State got the ball back out at the 20 because that ball was taken away mid-flight, right? As the wide receiver was rolling into the end zone. There you go. All right. What other excuses do we have there? Zach Zenter, when he got injured, that artificially pumped up the Michigan team and that all that adrenaline from the crowd and the emotions, and they played for Zach Zenter and they played over their heads. Okay. And cheating. That would be the other one. Okay. All right. So as an Ohio State fan, there we go. It doesn't matter. What I'm about to say doesn't matter at all because Michigan is the national champ. They're 15-0. Ohio State is a has-been 11-2 Cotton Bowl loser. But I'm going to say it anyway because I truly believe it. If you watch the two teams play, if you watch them play other teams, they, of course, played pretty much the same schedule. They both played Indiana, Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State, Penn State, Purdue, Minnesota. There wasn't hardly any difference between the two teams. So if Michigan could have won Michigan did win the national championship this year. For all the doomsayers out there about Ohio State's programs collapsing, they could have been out there winning a national championship tonight. They were good enough. They didn't get it done. There's a difference. They did not legitimately. I'm not saying they got ripped off or anything. They lost fair and square. Michigan won that game fair and square. I'm out of my role playing of whiny Ohio State fan that making excuses. I have no excuses for that game. Michigan won the game fair and square. The point I'm making is that if we started the season over tomorrow, let's say, boom, all of our memories were erased and they just played again. Well, we'd obviously have different results. Who knows? Michigan might win the national championship again, or Ohio State might win it, or Georgia, or Bama, or Texas, or Washington, whoever. But it's pretty obvious to see. Even the biggest Ohio State hater would have to admit that if they played all the same teams as Michigan played and played them just as well, generally, if you really look at the performances, they were like this. And they were within 35 yards coming down the field against Michigan in the big house on the road, difficult place to play, that Ohio State's not that far off. So unless something changes drastically, I hate to say this for people that hate Ohio State football, but it's not going away. Like there is no, and that's I'll turn this around to credit Michigan for this, because this is where the credit from Michigan really should come. And man, a lot of people are commenting, probably throwing me all over the place, slapping me across the face at this point. And yes, Ohio State was one play away from losing to Notre Dame. They were one play away from beating Michigan. They were one play away from losing to Notre Dame. Michigan was one play away from losing to Maryland. So we can play this game. I can play it better than just about anyone. Okay. Where was I? You screwed up my train of thought there, Michigan versus the world. Oh, what's truly remarkable about what Michigan's accomplished here is that Ohio State really hasn't declined. This is unprecedented in this rivalry where Michigan passed Ohio State, but not because Ohio State dropped. Usually when there's a transition of power in this rivalry, it's because one of them drops. It's because Ohio State would have become like an 8 or 9 win team, but that didn't happen. Ohio State's just about as good. I know Ohio State fans that are awfully picky and demand the best and demand championships and all of that think Ohio State has just really regressed. And they're just, no, they haven't. Ohio State has some improvement to make. Yes, they shouldn't be resting on their laurels that, oh, we're so talented, we'll be fine. Well, no, they need to diagnose the program and get better. But Ohio State's dropped off by about that much. This is all about Michigan completely raising its level. Ohio State did not drop back, and Michigan blew by them. You also wonder, what would the mindset of most Ohio State fans be if Ohio State was exactly doing what they're doing, let's say for the last 3 years? Let's say Ohio State was exactly the same team. They didn't win a national championship, but they got to the playoffs and they did what they've done pretty much. But Michigan wasn't accomplishing 3 straight Big Ten championships, playoff appearances, and now a national championship. Ohio State fans would look at their team completely different. And Ryan Day. The last 3 years, Ohio State is what? Last 3 years, 11-2, 11-2, 11-2. Okay. If they were doing that, and Michigan was still pre-2021, 9-4, 10-3, 9-4, the outlook of Ohio State fans would be completely different, even though their team was exactly the same team. And let's say the last 3 national championships were Georgia, and Washington. Follow me? Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all being here at the Voice of College Football. We are going to shut it down for the night. We do appreciate all of your support. You guys are amazing. I think I hit on all of these super chats. I did. Thank you so much for those. You keep us going here at the Voice of College Football. If you know of a sponsor, whether you own a business or you just want to promote your own personal brand, your Instagram, your platforms, your podcast, whatever you've got going, you can partner with us here at the Voice of College Football, and we can do you a lot of good. And you probably don't realize in how many ways. So whether it's a business you know of, your own business, your own, again, personal brand and platform, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail if you've got suggestions, because we are looking for sponsors. We would like to partner with you and help grow and build your business and your brand. Folks, before you leave, one quick note. We've got an SEC channel. We've got a Big 12 channel. We launched them at the beginning of the season. They're good. They're good. I don't want you to check them out and subscribe because we need it. I want you to do it because you love college football, and we've got some great content there, and we've got some great shows there. The SEC channel and the Big 12 channel. Check them out. The link's in the description section. So find the link. It's in the description section of this video and all the videos. It's right at the top. SEC channel, Big 12 channel. Grab the link, get it on over there, and check out what we do. And please give us a sub if you enjoy what you see. Our day is full on Tuesday. So let's see. Tuesday looks like this, folks. At 3:15 Eastern, this will not be live, but I'll be recording the Michigan podcast with Mr. Steve Dace of Michigan Podcast. So be looking out for that. So I got to come up with something intelligent to say with Steve on the Michigan podcast tomorrow. Then at 5:30 Eastern, we've got our Hawkeyes live show. So that's at 5:30 Eastern. We got Nebraska live at 7. So I'm on those two shows. Iowa 5:30, Nebraska 7. We've got the Biggest 12 show. That's at 7:30 on the Big 12 channel. We've got our Oregon show. That's at 10:30 on the Oregon channel. And then we got to make up for our Monday miss because of the national championship game. We've got our USC show at 11 Eastern and 8 Pacific. Myself, Matt Zemek, Tim Prankley on the USC channel. That's Tuesday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. In the meantime, I'm posting videos all over the place. We're going to do our conference rankings. So check that out. And we appreciate you and everything you do. Best discussion, debate, and analysis, not because of me, but because of you. So thank you so much for your participation, your contribution. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We'll see you on Tuesday.